I wanted to revisit the world of Port Desire and the world of No Law, which is the new game that is being developed over at Neon Giant. We talked a little bit about them about a week and a half ago or so, maybe 2 weeks, when the Game Awards were going on and the game was announced. It was one of the games that really caught my eye. Now, there's a handful of those games from the Game Awards. Not everything really catches my eye. I'm not a fan of every single thing that comes out, but there are a few things that I'm like, yeah, that shit right there looks fucking incredible. I need to play that. Or I need to get that. And No Law was one of those games. We talked a little bit about that, and we conversated about how the game reminded me so much of something like Cyberpunk 2077. We even talked about the comparisons and it potentially being a quote-unquote ripoff of the game Cyberpunk 2077. Neon Giant and the developers behind the game acknowledged that there were going to be some similarities there and that they were going to be compared to CD Projekt Red's cyberpunk-esque type of thriller or game. But that doesn't stop them from taking it and giving it their own spin. Now, when you look at certain aspects of the game, you could say, well, it definitely looks a lot like Cyberpunk 2077. Maybe it took heavy inspiration from that. But really, you look at the main characters and the way that the story is going to be structured. From what we know, you understand that the game isn't just about kind of creating your own character. Like in Cyberpunk 2077, you had male V and female V, and then you could create them to your likeness or create them to however you thought they were supposed to look and add all the chrome and everything else that you needed to add. But in No Law, you have a set character. There's no male version or a female version. It's just the version that you get. And he is a rough guy named Gray Harker. Now, what do we know about Gray Harker? Who is he? What is he bringing to the table? What is different if you compare him to a character like V? And so I want to look at a few different synopses here for the game, and then we can try to piece together a few things. On the Steam synopsis, it says that you take on the role of Gray Harker, a seasoned veteran of both the battlefield and the city of Port Desire. After receiving near-fatal injuries on his last deployment, Harker decides to finally turn his back on the military and instead set his sights on a peaceful life. However, while he no longer goes looking for trouble, one fateful day, trouble finds its way to his door. Now, that's what we get from Steam. So what do we pick up on this? We understand that we are Gray Harker, and he has been a military guy for a long time. They call him a veteran. And to be honest, by the look of him and his age and how rough he looks, he's probably been there, over a decade at least. He's been in the military for a long, long time. And you could tell he's probably a savage. He was probably he has like a dark past. You can kind of just tell by his look and how he reacts to things that there's maybe a lot of guilt and a lot of hate and, a lot of savagery stored within Gray Harker because of his time in the military and maybe growing up in a rough part or in maybe the entire city of Port Desire being a rough area. And so we also know that the reason that he decided to leave the battlefield or to leave the military is because of his last deployment, where something tragic happened, something very tough on him mentally and on his body. It says that he received near fatal injuries, so he almost died. Maybe that allowed him to open up his mind a little bit more and reconsider what was truly important. Maybe so many years of war and death and killing took a toll on Gray Harker, and he needed to stop. He needed a break. He wanted to go and live a peaceful, quiet life. Now, if we go over to the Xbox One, it reads, you'll take on the role of Gray Harker, an ex-military veteran who's left his war-torn life behind for a much more peaceful existence, tending to his plans. He no longer looks for trouble, but trouble always comes knocking. So again, we know he was a military guy, we know he retired, and now we know that he, kind of like I mentioned earlier, he's trying to just take care of his plans. He's trying to retire, and maybe he uses those plans as a way to clear his mind and maybe make up for all the death that he brought. The plans could be like some sort of metaphor, right? You have a metaphor of if you grab these plants, you take care of them, you water them, and you bring them back to life. It's like he's repaying his debt. It's like he's bringing something to life and taking care of it, and, in comparison to all the life that he took. Now, in an interview with GameSpot, Neon Giants talked a little bit here about what they want this game to be. And the GameSpot writer said that No Law followed Gray Harker, a retired military veteran living in another neon-soaked metropolis called Port Desire. He leaves active service for a life of peace, but one day he is attacked in his home, and he sets out to learn the truth behind the encounter. Now, this sets up something else about Gray Harker that maybe we didn't know before. He is attacked. We see the attack happen in the trailer, but we don't know why it happened. We don't know what caused it. Now, we do know that he was ex-military. We know that he had a rough life. We know that he maybe wronged somebody in the past, or maybe somebody feels wrong by something that Gray Harker did in his past life before he went on this peaceful journey. And because of that, he was attacked. Now, that's what potentially happened. That's what we think may have occurred on that fateful day of the encounter. He got his ass beat tremendously. He got caught off guard. He got hit with a bat. He got his face all bruised up and bloodied. Like, they beat him relentlessly. But the thing is, we don't know why. So apparently he sets out to learn what happened. That's what GameSpot is basically kind of saying. However, the final thing that we can look at here is over from Krafton, where they had another information on Gray Harker. It says that he was trained in Black Ops and that he was going back out into the field, or back out to get revenge, to get back what was stolen from him and confront the city that wronged him. So now we have an understanding, right? Gray Harker, ex-military veteran, almost died in his last deployment. That led him to retire. Then he went to a peaceful life tending plants. Someone came, attacked him, and they took something from him. He doesn't know who attacked him. He knows what they took, and now he's setting out to the world again, and going and leaning into his military experience, leaning into that savagery, leaning into that violence to find out who wronged him and why they stole what they stole. So clearly they took something valuable from him, and now he needs it back. So that kind of sets the tone, that sets the story for No Law. And we have a little bit of the lore there. We kind of know now who Gray Harker is and what his motivations are. We also kind of understand that he's kind of a violent person, but the plans were really helping him kind of have a calmness to him and experience some peace. And however people get that peace, it's not up to us to decide. That's just kind of what works. So I get an idea now of Gray Harker a little bit more, and to be quite frank, it motivates me a bit more to want to explore this game more, and to just, I can't wait to get into the story and really find out the intricacies of Gray Harker, and find out a lot more lore about him, find out what makes him tick, find out why he, does what he does. And I really want to find out what that military injury was that caused him to retire. I want to know what they stole, and I got a feeling that he has a lot of skeletons in his closet. I don't think he's going to be a very clean cut guy just trying to do the right thing. I think there might be some anti-hero thing going on here with Gray Harker. I think you also have a really interesting looking character, and then you have a really interesting past. You give him a lot of skills being ex-military. He's going to be a tough son of a gun. So I'm really excited for this. Again, the city of Port Desire. Now we'll take a quick look here, but according to the Krafton article, Port Desire is a city in the cliffs of a restless sea. So there's going to be a lot of water, a lot of open ocean that surrounds Port Desire. We also understand and get that Port Desire is a hub for import and excess. So there's a lot of people coming into Port Desire to import goods to sell, and that's where the money is coming in. That's where a lot of crazy bad people come in because they want a little bit of that money. So there's a lot of things going on here in Port Desire. It's going to be a very rugged and broken type of city. I don't think it's going to have that beautiful nightlife of Night City. I think it's going to be a little bit more rough and a little bit more kind of broken down almost. So it really sets the backdrop beautifully. And so that's why I wanted to take a look here today at Gray Harker, find out a little bit more of his lore, and establish this character a bit more before we get more information on the game.